Your joints are silently aging every single day, even when you feel no pain, and what makes this frightening is that joint damage begins years before stiffness or arthritis ever appears. People believe joint pain is caused only by age, but scientists discovered that certain foods can either accelerate joint destruction or secretly protect and repair joint tissues. What researchers the most is that some of the most powerful joint-protecting foods are rarely discussed, and the first one comes from meat or chicken that directly shields your joints from silent inflammation. The ancient chicken broth that silences hidden joint inflammation. Ever notice that when you wake up in the morning, your knees feel stiff, your fingers feel tight, or your joints feel harder to move, and you assume it is just normal aging? But what many people do not realize is that this stiffness is often caused by silent inflammation slowly building inside the joints overnight, weakening their flexibility and comfort without obvious warning. And this is where slow-simmered chicken broth becomes something deeply unusual and powerful. Because when chicken bones and connective tissues are cooked slowly for hours, they release rare amino acids like glycine and proline, which directly support joint tissue repair and help calm hidden inflammation at the cellular level. And this explains why people who regularly consume traditional chicken broth often notice their joints feel smoother, more flexible, and less stiff over time, because this broth quietly restores the internal cushioning and repair systems joints depend on. And according to William Ley, author of Eat to Beat Disease, natural compounds found in traditional slow-cooked foods can help regulate inflammation and strengthen the body's repair systems, which means this simple broth is not just food, it is biological support for joint survival. But what frightened researchers the most was discovering that joint damage does not begin when pain appears. It begins silently years earlier, and the foods people consume every day determine whether joints slowly weaken and fail, or remain strong, flexible, and protected for decades. The slow-cooked bone broth that rebuilds worn joint cushioning. Many people begin to notice that simple movements like standing up, climbing stairs, or even walking feel slightly harder than before, and they assume it is just a normal part of getting older. But what is really happening deep inside the joints is far more disturbing, because the soft cushioning layer that protects your bones, called cartilage, slowly begins to thin and weaken without causing pain in the early stages. And once this protective cushion declines, bones begin to rub closer together, creating friction, stiffness, and eventually permanent joint damage. And this is where slow-cooked beef bone broth becomes something ancient yet biologically powerful, because when bones are simmered slowly for hours, they release collagen, gelatin, glucosamine, and chondroitin, which are the exact structural compounds your joints use to maintain their cushioning and strength. And this explains why people who regularly consume traditional bone broth often report smoother movement, reduced stiffness, and stronger joint stability over time, because this broth directly supplies the raw materials your body needs to repair and reinforce joint tissue. And according to Mark Hyman, author of Food, What the Heck Should I Eat? Collagen-rich foods play a critical role in supporting connective tissue and maintaining joint integrity, which means this ancient liquid is not just nourishment. It is structural support for your joints at the cellular level. But scientists discovered something even more shocking. Because another specific meat broth contains rare compounds that can directly calm the tiny seeds you eat without thinking that quietly strengthen your joints. People never realize that something as small and ordinary as sesame seeds can quietly influence how strong or fragile their joints become over time. And this becomes frightening when you understand that joint weakness does not begin with pain. It begins silently, when the structural minerals your joints depend on slowly decline without any obvious warning signs. And this hidden loss weakens cartilage, reduces flexibility, and makes joints more vulnerable to stiffness, cracking sounds, and long-term degeneration. And this is where sesame seeds become something truly unusual and powerful. Because these tiny ancient seeds contain copper, zinc, and natural anti-inflammatory compounds that directly support cartilage strength and help maintain the structural stability joints need to move smoothly. And this explains why people who regularly consume mineral-rich traditional foods often maintain stronger, more resilient joints even as they age, because their joints continue receiving the microscopic structural support needed for survival. And according to David Perlmutter, author of Brain Maker. Nutrition plays a critical role in controlling inflammation and protecting tissue stability throughout the body, which means these small seeds are not just food, they are silent structural protectors working at the cellular level. But the real truth scientists discovered is even more disturbing, because joint damage is not sudden. It is the result of small silent processes happening every single day, determined by what you choose to feed your body. Black garlic, people begin to feel that their joints are not as smooth or flexible as they once were. Small stiffness appears, movements feel heavier, and strange cracking sounds begin to happen. And they assume it is just a normal part of aging. But what they do not realize is that joint aging actually begins silently at the cellular level years before pain ever appears. And this is where black garlic becomes something truly mysterious and powerful, because black garlic is not ordinary garlic. It is created through a slow, natural aging process that transforms its internal compounds into much stronger protective antioxidants. And these antioxidants help defend cartilage cells from degeneration, which is the exact process that slowly destroys joint cushioning over time. And this explains why people who regularly consume antioxidant-rich traditional foods often maintain smoother joint movement and experience less stiffness as they age, because their cartilage cells remain more protected from silent damage. And according to Andrew Weil, author of Healthy Aging, antioxidants play a critical role in protecting tissues from age-related degeneration and maintaining structural stability in the body, which means black garlic is not just a food. It acts like a protective shield, defending your joints from invisible aging forces. But what scientists discovered next was even more shocking, because another ancient food directly supplies the structural building blocks joints need to remain strong and stable. The sour fruit that quietly calms joint pain. People wake up in the morning and notice their knees feel stiff, their fingers feel tight, or their joints feel harder to move, and they assume it is just normal aging or tiredness. But what is actually happening is far more disturbing, because while you are sleeping, silent inflammation can slowly build inside your joints, weakening cartilage and reducing flexibility without any clear warning. And this is where tart cherries become something truly unusual and powerful, because this small sour fruit contains rare natural pigments called anthocyanins, which directly block the inflammatory signals that slowly destroy joint cushioning. And this explains why some people notice their joints feel smoother and less stiff when their body receives proper anti-inflammatory support, because the internal irritation damaging the joints begins to calm down at the cellular level. And according to Michael Greger, author of How Not to Die, specific plant compounds have the ability to reduce inflammation and protect tissues from long-term degeneration, which means this simple fruit is not just food. It is a silent regulator that helps protect your joints while your body is in its most vulnerable repair state during sleep. But what shocked scientists even more was discovering that a strange aged food can protect joint cells from aging itself and slow down the structural decline happening deep inside your joints. Green-lipped mussels. Joint damage starts silently years before pain ever appears, and every single day your cartilage faces microscopic wear and tear from simple movements like walking, climbing stairs, or even standing. And without proper protection, this cushioning layer slowly weakens, making joints more fragile and vulnerable to long-term damage. And this is where green-lipped mussels become something truly mysterious and powerful, because this rare deep-sea food contains unique marine omega-3 compounds that are not commonly found in land foods. And these compounds directly help calm hidden joint inflammation and protect cartilage cells from gradual breakdown, which explains why populations that traditionally consume marine-based foods often maintain stronger and more flexible joints over time, because their joints receive continuous biological protection at the cellular level. And according to William Lai, author of Eat to Beat Disease, marine bioactive compounds can help regulate inflammation and protect the body's structural tissues, which means this unusual deep-sea food is not just nutrition. It is silent defense working inside your joints every day. But protecting joints from damage is only half the story, because scientists discovered another strange fruit that helps joints repair themselves faster. And if you want to protect your joints before permanent damage begins, make sure to like this video and share it with others who may not realize their joints are silently aging.